I did it.
Isn't technology amazing, David?
It is. It's it's a double-edged sword for me. I love it and I'm frustrated by it.
I am the same way. Johnny Adam, my buddy from the Brewers, is going to pop on in a second. I have someone I want to talk to you about. Talk to me about tell me about the treehouse. How are things going with the treehouse?
It's great. I don't go up there that much because I want to go up there and read. So I need to have my electrician come and mount light over the bed.
I
But
talked to you 4 years ago, and you still haven't done it.
done what?
Put the light up.
No, I haven't put the light up there. I mean, I do other stuff to it,
Yeah,
but I really want to go up there and spend a night and just because to me, that's out in the woods.
yeah. It's like a real Walden thing,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
but it's there and it's a fully functioning treehouse, bathroom, shower, TV, air conditioning, heat, everything.
When you first told me about that, I thought you were pulling my chain.
No, no,
Then you sent a picture, and I'm just thinking, is it kind of a refuge? Is it really kind of a place where you can go and just,
yeah, it really is. Yeah.
yeah. Talk to John's coming on. We were talking about how I was talking to Ron Shelton the other day, and we were talking about how Southern California, has its own breed of athletes. Were you athletic in high school and not much?
Lightly athletic. I was on, a softball team and
Yeah.
I was I didn't I was on the eighth grade basketball team, but I wasn't, I knew I had to either be in sports or a band. So I
Right.
chose being in a band.
John Adam, David Zucker.
Hello.
Hi, David.
John was with the Brewers for 22 years as the head trainer. Then he went on the PGA and did the same thing. And we've been doing this county stadium thing, but it's been morphing more towards movie guys. We had David Ward on the other day, and
Oh,
we talked about Major League because it was shot here. But David, do you know him, David? Do you know David Ward, David?
no, I don't know anybody.
I get this feeling that all you guys would hang out, at the same club, the directors club out there. It just doesn't
We
really
don't.
happen.
I mean, I don't go to any parties. I just stay here. I mean, I have a house full of people here.
Mhm.
I've never been in the Hollywood scene. And, it would probably have benefited me some, but I didn't want to hang around with anyone. I mean, not that there aren't a bunch of nice people out here, but I just, pretty much just hung around with my brother and Jim Abrams and a lot of my friends from Milwaukee. And, we hang out, they're here every Sunday to watch the
Wow.
Packers.
Why would you need to do the other BS, right? All that Hollywood stuff.
Yeah,
And,
well,
but at first, was it a little tempting at first?
not even tempting. Not even tempting. We didn't care. I had
Good
my
for
own,
you. Good. That's very good.
Johnny and
and
I,
and, and because of that, I never got into any drugs. I cruised right through the '80s. No, nothing. I,
Impossible.
yeah, I mean, and the price I paid is, I mean, I'm pretty dull, so that's
Nothing wrong with that.
not a bad price.
yeah.
Johnny is a Southern California guy, and he likes to bust my chops about being a cheeser. And I don't know, Dave, I'm curious as to your perception on people from Wisconsin now. I mean, Johnny, tell them a little bit about the balls you bust with cheesers and how the Southern California boys have a little bit of
Well, I
opening day for that matter.
well, it just I'm sure you can relate with it now. Now that you lived out in Southern California and you're from Milwaukee, and but yeah, on the Brewers we had a fair amount of guys from Southern California, and I'll never forget one day Robin comes in and he walks in the trainer's room, and he's quiet, unassuming, and he comes in to get his treatment, and and he just looks at me, and Robin never says anything negative about anybody. And Kid looks at me and he says, "Hey man, you're not going to believe what happened." He goes and he starts giggling to himself, and he goes, "So I'm driving. I'm at the drive-through in McDonald's because I've got to pick some stuff up for the kids." And here's Robin, the most low-key guy in the world. He's got a house. They lived in Hales Corners. You know, and he goes, "So, the kids order their food," and he goes, "And so I order a iced tea And the girl says, "Oh no, we don't have iced tea. That's out of season."
Oh, well, I never heard of that. Jeez.
Oh yeah. And
I do recognize the Hales Corners accent.
yeah. Thank you. But and he starts laughing and he goes, "What? I've never heard that in my life. There's a season for iced tea?" And so of course, then Gantner walks in and Gantner like, "Oh yeah, oh of course there is." And we're like, and now the other Southern California guys, Jim Slayton and Mark Brohart, and we chime in and tell them how square they are and blah blah blah. So it was always that type of thing.
Yeah, I think Robin was from Woodland Hills.
Yeah, he went to Taft High School there. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. He's a Valley boy. Yeah.
And I never met him. So there I can
Oh,
Well, you never leave the house, so how the hell
I
could you?
never leave the house. And well,
and neither does Robin. Robin never leaves his house. So yeah.
well, I'll go over there if he needs me to. But they kid me about I never want to go east of the 405.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I live in Brentwood. Everything I
Yeah.
have is right on San Vicente Boulevard. Every restaurant I want to go to, there's a tailor. There's everything. We got. It's not like living in a small town.
I heard a great quote. This guy says, "Do you want to go to Europe?" He says something. He says, "Do they have something there I don't have here?"
Yeah.
And when you think about it, like my dad was from Germany, or he was born in Buenos Aires, and I'm going in the Kettle Moraine area, David. You remember that? And we're driving.
Yeah.
I must have been 15, and my dad was a doctor, and he was weird. And I said, "Dad, what's it look like in Germany?" He goes, "Look out the window."
Yeah. And my daughter's going to spend her junior year in college in Milan, Italy.
Mm.
I'll probably fly there.
Mhm.
But so I go there for a week, probably take my son with me.
Mhm.
And but my ex-wife wants to meet me in New York because Sarah's flying to New York first, and then she gets her flight. She's visiting friends in New York. I don't want to go. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to be with my ex-wife much more than I want to be in New York or travel anywhere.
Traveling. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
I hate waking up early in the morning, and this is something that's probably in the last 10 years. There's stuff I just don't want to do anymore.
I'm 61, and there's a whole shit ton of things I don't want to do anymore. I mean, I look out the window and I have to shovel or mow the lawn, and I'm really at a breaking point. I'm like, I don't know anymore. I don't know if I really want to do that. I mean, I don't have the John Adam or Zucker money to do something about it, but at some point where you're just like,
I really enjoy my money, and just I don't have to do anything, and I can hire a guy to shovel my walk.
There you go. If it ever snows in Brentwood.
Yeah, as soon as it snows in Brentwood.
that sounds like a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
It snows in Brentwood.
A Christmas song.
Even better. Even better.
You know what's a great Christmas movie is Elf.
Really?
Oh, I agree. It's in my top 3. Yes.
Yeah, it's so funny, and Will Ferrell is so great.
He is.
But they don't make comedies anymore. So what can you do?
Well, what was the last good comedy you saw, David? I mean, can you remember? And my thing that is comedic to me is, the movie will be out the theaters on Friday. It'll be streaming by Monday. I mean, that's how quick it is now, and it's mind blowing.
Somebody just texted me an article about that. The trouble with comedies in theater, not being in theaters, is that you can't see it with the whole audience laughing along.
Yeah, I get it.
In comedy, you can still watch. My favorite 2 movies in the whole world history of movies are Godfather 1 and 2. You can watch those, by yourself with me, or a horror movie. But a comedy really is greatly helped by having that communal.
The communal. One bit that you've done so much in your catalog, but there's one little snippet of something you did in Naked Gun when Priscilla Presley and Leslie are coming out of Platoon laughing.
Yeah.
Right? You remember? Do you have any idea what gold that is? I mean, how do I, but 38 years later, remember that so vividly? It was just a throwaway, I mean, to you probably.
A lot of the jokes were done without, actors having to be funny.
Right.
You know, Chevy Chase, I thought was excellent in his movies. In his heyday, boy, was he good.
Mhm.
But he's a real comic actor.
Mhm.
And, Leslie or Priscilla or Robert, they didn't really have to do anything.
Mhm.
They just had to, act it, which was a whole different thing. They just remade Fletch, I heard, with John Hamm.
I saw.
I haven't seen it.
Hmm.
I can't imagine how that would be because John Hamm is not a comic per se,
Yeah.
but he was an excellent dramatic actor.
Yeah.
And I heard he loves comedy, but I
It
don't
doesn't mean you
think
can do comedy.
doesn't mean you can do comedy. You can do, the kind of spoof comedy that we do, which I think
Yeah.
any actor could do.
I'm not a big fan of Chevy Chase, but I know what you're talking about. But Chevy Chase's characters in Fletch was vulnerable. There's a certain amount of vulnerability
Yeah,
in his
but boy,
character, which
he was funny. He was like runningly funny in that. He was being funny. And so was Bill Murray in his movies.
I'll give Caddyshack a
Yeah.
close second place to Airplane. I mean, in terms of its longevity, in terms of and Harold Ramis was behind all that, right? I mean,
Yeah, Harold Ramis is a great director. And he's got one of my top 5 movies, comedy or no, Groundhog Day.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
So brilliant. And
Who directed that?
Harold directed
Oh,
Groundhog.
I heard in an interview that he finally told someone how many days did Bill Murray's character wake up, and he said, this is Harold Ramis said 10,000 times, and apparently that's when the Buddhists feel you really receive enlightenment is after 10,000 whatever. And I thought Ramis was a little bit Buddhist, wasn't he? Didn't he have a little bit of that working?
I didn't know him that well. I would have lunch with him or dinner occasionally, and I bought his house. We were.
That was nice of you.
He was as close as anybody in Hollywood was to me, which is not very close. But and then we did a movie called Brain Donors, and I had lunch with him just trying to get him to direct Brain Donors. Well, because Jerry and I were busy doing something else. I think I was doing one of the Naked Guns, but he turned it down. But he said something that I've used a line after that for a lot when I turn stuff down. If I'm ever asked to do anything, and Ramis said, "I want to see this movie." He said the script was great, but I want to see this movie more than I want to direct it.
Can you put your finger on what that is, David? I mean,
I actually believed him. Yeah. What?
there's something there though, like when you get something, you're just like, yeah, I like it, but it's not me. Can you describe something that you've been through where you're like just what Harold said? I respect the project, but it's not me. Do you recall something like that?
Yeah, I respect a lot of like Elf. I don't know if I could have done that. I mean, some of these movies.
And wasn't that John Favreau? Did Favreau do Elf?
Favreau directed that, and I don't think I could have done a better job of that. But I'm pretty specific about what I do, and I can do spoof really well, and that's what my comfort zone is. And yeah, and I have a couple of scripts, but it's hard to get work as an old white guy.
Yeah, trust me, I know the feeling. Are you? What's his name? Cameron spent what $2 billion on Avatar, and I have no desire to see it, and I won't. Isn't that frightening to think somebody? Could you see Frank Capra spending 400 million on a film, and I have no desire to see it?
Yeah, but
Oddball.
I don't think it's a reflection on how good Avatar is. I mean, I haven't seen it either. In fact, that's what on my Instagram, that's what my line is. I think it might be on Instagram, but it says I have still yet to see Avatar, but I just was not interested in it. But it must be a good movie because it's been, and Cameron is, there's nobody better than Cameron at directing that stuff. I mean, he's done some excellent movies. You know, Todd Phillips has done excellent movies, but I'm not really interested in, I wouldn't be interested in directing them. It's
Did you
just
see
different.
Licorice Pizza, something like that? These small independent films that still. Did you see Licorice Pizza?
No,
These
was
little
that the one?
films with Philip Seymour Hoffman's son. Yeah, I
No,
think it was Philip.
I haven't seen. No, I
My
haven't seen.
point being is there's still gems being made, but for every avatar, there's only a handful. Do you think in your day you still had a chance to make? And would Airplane be made today?
I don't think so, because, you know, not that audiences wouldn't still appreciate it, you know, 100% like they did 40 years ago, but it's just, I think that in the studio boardroom, you know, the people who are the gatekeepers would look at certain things like, you know, the black dude speaking John, you know,
Yeah, no, that wouldn't make it.
that.
Yeah.
You know, when I get asked that question, when we show Airplane or The Naked Guns, and they say, "Could you make that today?" And I say, "Of course we could, just without the jokes." You know, and then it gets a laugh, but you know that's kind of my.
True. Yeah.
Johnny, what did you grow up with, Johnny? Your favorite comedies? You're just a little bit older than me. You remember when Airplane and the Guns?
I mean, oh yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. No, no, no. Everything you said, the only thing I would add is that silly, Dumb and Dumber,
I
you
love it.
know,
I
Yeah,
love it.
you know,
Dumb and Dumber was great, and
Yeah.
by these are friends of mine, the Farrelly brothers.
Yeah.
hmm
And in fact, the Farrelly brothers used to be on my driveway playing basketball with us. That was, you know,
Okay.
basketball was a real sport that we
I didn't
invented
know that either.
on my driveway. Yeah.
The one
and
thing
that's something. Yeah.
I've got to ask you, David, you worked with the South Park guys. Team America to me is one of my favorites. And
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a common person with that. Team America, I mean, I'm a fairly bright guy and I shit myself when I see that film. Do you like it, number one? And number two, what kind of humor is that? I don't watch the show so much, but to me,
I'm not
Team America
sure.
is brilliant.
I'm not sure what kind of movie it is. I'm not a person who thought, "Oh my God, this is brilliant." I think those guys are brilliant. Uh, but it just wasn't my, and I'm, you know, I'm so focused and with blind just on my kind of humor. And, you know, last night we watched Blades of Glory only because my family forced me to watch it.
Wait, is
And
that Kirk Douglas?
no, that's
No,
with
no.
John Heder and Will Ferrell, who are both excellent.
But I
And
love Napoleon Dynamite.
I could see, yeah, that was good. And but Blades of Glory, I laughed, you know, 2 or 3 times, and I can see that it is funny. It's a good movie,
Mhm.
and it's certainly better than, you know, some of my flops. But I mean, as a movie, because it works. You know, you are into these characters, and but I don't like to sit through those movies.
Yeah.
That makes it.
Yeah.
It's but even that, the vomit scene in Team America, I almost felt a connection from Airplane to that. I know that's an obtuse connection.
No, they say, those guys say that they were influenced by Airplane,
Yeah.
and
I
of
mean,
course I worked with them, and their favorite, the guys they looked up to really were, I mean, they were fans of ours, but they really loved the Pythons, Monty Python.
as did I.
Yeah, so but it was funny, while we were shooting basketball, we had a long weekend. They went up to San Francisco where the Pythons were getting an award or something. So they met their idols, and they came back and said all the Pythons would talk about was Airplane.
Mhm.
which, which is
Good.
so funny.
Listen
And
to this.
I love Monty Python. I think those guys are great.
Is there a bigger compliment than when you heard that?
No, it was great. I mean, I just love hearing that. You know, anytime somebody, every time I hear that I'm great, I really warm up to that.
Well, here's one for you. Stanley Kubrick, and I was talking to Ron Sheldon about this the other day. He said White Men Can't Jump was one of his favorite films, and I won't understand that till the day I die. How could that possibly be a favorite film of somebody, what I consider maybe one of the finest filmmakers of all time? It just goes to show you we don't know what.
So Kubrick said that?
Mhm.
Oh,
and I asked Sheldon about it, and it just seems so incongruous, you know? It's
Yeah.
it's like me saying, you know, Clueless
I
is
don't know. That's another movie that I never saw. So yeah, that was with
really?
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I like Tin Cup a lot more, but
Yeah.
I think that I only talk to filmmakers only over 70 now, Johnny. That's all I do. David Ward, the
Yeah.
Davids that are over 70.
I'm over 75.
Johnny, I don't know how old Johnny is. You're a little older than me.
Late
Let me,
60s. I'm late
before I
60s.
take up too much David's time, his
Yeah,
dad,
yeah.
your dad was a Braves fan, right, David? You
No, it's like my
no?
dad. My dad didn't know from sports. He didn't.
But he took you to the game.
Yeah, twice.
Oh, okay.
The rest of his favorite, his best friend was a guy named Phil Lerman who ran Lerman Tire Company for 40 years or something. It may still be existent, but I don't know. But Phil Lerman would take us to the games.
Okay.
But one time, Dad did get tickets to the World Series, 1958.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
so I remember it. That's when, and Dad said he got 2 tickets. He announced to all of us that he was going to take David. And so whereupon my brother and sister just screamed and they pounded the table. They took it really well. And so, but I ended up going with them. It's like one of the few times that I really did anything like that with just my dad and me, which was, it
Yeah.
was really nice. And I'm sure I enjoyed the game, but I remember, as one of the stories that I gave you for the book was, I'm 9 years old or something, and there were these guys, really rowdy guys in back of us saying, "You Braves suck, go Yankees, you Braves are a bunch of bums." And so I didn't know from this, and I said, "Dad, are they from New York?" And he said, "They're from drunk." I just remember that, I'll never forgot that. But that was
David,
my dad's dry sense of humor where he couldn't tell you a joke. He didn't know any jokes, but he would say very funny things with a straight face.
where did you get it from? Your mom funny? Was your mom funny?
My dad was funny, but I'm not saying he
Yeah.
didn't joke. He was very funny. And anybody he would encounter, he would just do this kind of teasing kind of humor
I like that.
and was very funny. But my Uncle Bob, my dad's brother, he knew a joke. Did you see Kentucky Fried Movie?
Yeah.
I play a guy in the courtroom and they ask me what my name is. And I go, Sheldon. And the guy says, "What does this mean?" And happy birthday to you, dear Sheldon. So that was from my Uncle Bob. He told me that joke and we put it right in the movie.
This is the last question is, at 61, I don't feel any less creative than I did ever in my life. Where are you with your creativity levels? And is it something that, is just keep being creative till you die? I mean, I just don't see any other point. I mean, does that make any sense to you? Do you ever make any cognitive thoughts that, yeah, I'm just.
No, I'm 100%. I feel creative. The only thing that doesn't make sense to me is you're saying that you're still creative.
Hey, I got books up the ass. I
Isn't that
doesn't
a-
mean I haven't achieved success, but it
Isn't
doesn't mean
that
I'm not
great way-
creative.
Isn't that a great way to end this? But I'll tell you, I bought this book.
Holy shit! You bought it.
I
Well,
actually
here's my latest. Have you bought this one? No.
No, I'm not
All my
interested.
other novels. No, you bring up a really interesting point,
But
David.
this is great, and because and I'm using it. I haven't really read it. I read my part of it, but
You just told us your part.
I have a table with a short leg, and this thing is exactly 1.5 inches, and it's just wonderful. And so it's so annoying when the table goes like
All right.
that.
I said I had last question, but I'm going to say one more because I asked Ron Shelton. I'm not blowing Ron Shelton. It's not like he's the greatest filmmaker of all time.
That's a bad visual. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I don't want to do it. But,
You're probably prouder to know me, but go ahead.
but you mocked my creativity a moment ago, but I want to say this.
Yes.
I asked Sheldon, I said, "Hey, Mr. Hollywood, if you were to write, knowing you would never get another thing produced, would you still do it? And I swear to God, he said, well, probably not. And I'm like, well, F you. I have to do every one of my projects, assuming it's not going to go anywhere. And then challenge you to who's a writer. You know what I mean? I'm not angry. I'm just
No,
pissed.
that's an interesting point. Maybe I'm naive, but I do every one of my projects like I know it's going,
Well, because they are.
and I've got two scripts that are great. It's just like I think they need time. Like Airplane, we wrote, and then it took 5 years before anybody said yes. Okay, we'll make this into a movie.
But my question to you is somebody like me pathetic, or do you respect the person busting their chops to try to get something done? You know, I mean, I write mine knowing it's not going anywhere.
Seriously, I do respect that. You know, you have to be a little bit naive and think that what you're doing is actually going to see the light of day.
It
So
won't.
I think I agree with you.
But I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's the only thing I got, you know, to keep trying. And, you know, I'm pretty confident nothing. I've had a couple scripts come close. And from a guy from Milwaukee to send scripts out to LA or whatever, I've been very fortunate. The Goodman Theater in Chicago looked at one of my plays once and subsequently rejected it. I'm the most successful unpublished author you'd ever want to meet. But it doesn't take away from the creative process. I mean, you're cursed with it. You got to do it.
Scripts are tough. I mean, look, it's like we, you know, I've got a track record, and you know, I'm, you know, who I am, but it's like it's tough. I can't get anything done.
Well,
So
what I learned in my 10 years, 20 years with Hollywood is you're only as good as the person that's willing to lose $10 million or 20 million. I don't care.
well, what you know, ideally, I'd find, because one of my scripts, and it's a film noir comedy, and it can be done for probably 7 million.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll do it for scale because I love doing it. And what I need to do is I need to find a billionaire who is throwing 10, you know, under 10 million, under 7 million at something is like me investing $1,000.
Right.
You know, so,
who just doesn't give a shit if they lose the 7 million or not.
Right. I need somebody who doesn't give a shit. And you know, the advantage there is that you kind of get to go to the head of the line. And you know, I'm a director. You know, it'll get shown, and I think it's worth the risk to somebody, because it's I can get it produced and I can make it.
What's the worst could happen? It goes on Netflix and breaks even.
That's right, and you can still make your money back. So
yeah, that's perplexing to me. I know a guy that came out with one for very substantially less, and I think he made his money back and then some. So with all the content needed today, it's surprising to me that you can't get that done. But isn't that interesting, John? Even a guy like this,
yeah,
trouble because I don't care who's attached. I don't care who's going to do it.
It's very hard, but my creative drive is still there. So you know, as you know, Jim, I'm writing a book. You know, it's called "Surely You Can't Be Serious," and now it's been bought by St. Martin's Press. So
well, I don't mean to depress you on a Saturday, but nobody reads anymore. You know, it's truly startling.
Yeah.
Maybe the three of us pick up a book once in a while, but you know, screw it. You know, reading, it's really sad. I don't care how good it is. I mean, Margaret Mitchell writing Gone with the Wind right now, they'd be like, really?
Yeah.
Is that all you got?
Yeah.
Name one person.
Too long.
Who do you know that reads, John? One person, name it.
Well, I'm surrounded by baseball players. Are you kidding me?
David, someone in your house reader all the time? Is someone in your house reading?
Yes. One of my housemates, Ellie Shoja, you know, is a reader, and but she's also an author. So
yeah. Well, from the bottom of my heart, thanks for picking up that book. I would have bet $100 you wouldn't have purchased that thing, and I appreciate it.
Sure, I'll with the next time I'm in Milwaukee, I want you to sign it and say how grateful you are.
Yeah, are you still coming to see? Who's your buddy that you come out for the theater once in a while? What's his name? I did an article on him once. He's your guy, Blifford?
Yeah, Fred Blifford.
You keep in touch? You see him?
Yes, very much.
All right,
and he's doing a show at the Riverside Theater on January 1st.
What's the show?
It's a kirtan show with his daughter. So I hope this thing comes out before then.
This thing will be out before your ass gets warm off the chair. This thing will be out in 15 minutes after I convert it. And I'm going 1,300 strong in my membership, close to 1,400. So I know this was worth your 20 minutes, David. I know it.
If half of them go to see the show, they could fill the Riverside Theater.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
you're not even going. So what the hell?
Well, I don't want to go east of the 405.
Yeah, exactly. God forbid.
Much less to Milwaukee. So yeah.
Let's swap. Why don't we swap? We'll make a movie. We'll swap houses like they did in The Holiday. You come here to my house in Saukville for a weekend, and I'll go to yours. And John, he's got this tree house he built. It's nicer than most apartments, and a fucking tree in his house.
Well, yeah, Brentwood still has trees. Yeah.
Oh, we have wonderful trees here, and I'm in a great organization called Tree People, which is we plant trees, and it's a whole environment.
That sounds like a really boring movie you could make.
I could make anything interesting, Jim.
There you go.
You made this conversation interesting, so I hand it to you. Well, happy holidays.
Okay, to you guys too. Thank you
All right.
for having.
Hey, and I'm really glad you got your computer fixed.
I know it's wonderful having.
He ran out to get it fixed, John. He could have picked up a new Apple by the time he had this thing fixed.
All for you, Jim. You did it all for you.
I really appreciate it, David. Thanks for taking the time.
Sure. Bye-bye.
Thanks, David. Bye-bye.